The rig in front of me was driving in reverse at 70 miles per hour. I know how that sounds. I've been hauling freight across I-80 for 19 years, seen my share of weird shit on these lonely stretches between Omaha and Salt Lake City, but nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what I witnessed on the night of February 7th, 2023. My name's Curtis Brennan, and I need to tell someone about this before I lose my goddamn mind. It started normal enough. I'd picked up a load of automotive parts in Des Moines, headed west through the dark heart of Nebraska. The kind of drive where you see maybe 3 other vehicles in an hour, where the highway becomes a black ribbon cutting through an ocean of nothing. Radio crackling with distant CB chatter, mostly complaints about the cold snap that had temperatures dropping to -15. My reefer unit hummed behind me, keeping those engine blocks from freezing solid. Around 2:30 a.m., just past the Lexington exit, I spotted taillights ahead. Another big rig, probably doing the same 75 I was maintaining. I eased off the throttle a bit. No need to crowd the guy. We haulers have an unspoken code out here. Give each other space. Respect the loneliness we all share. That's when I noticed something wrong with his trailer lights. They were flickering. Not like a loose connection, but in a pattern. Rhythmic, deliberate. 3 long flashes, 3 short, 3 long. SOS. Every trucker knows that signal, even if we've never needed to use it. My gut clenched. Guy might be having a medical emergency, trying to signal for help while still maintaining control of his vehicle. I grabbed my CB radio. Hey there, driver ahead in the Freightliner. You got your trailer lights flashing SOS. Everything all right up there? Static. I tried again. Breaker 19, this is Rolling Thunder heading westbound, mile marker 217. Freightliner ahead, you copy? Nothing but the hiss of dead air. That's when I noticed his speed. He wasn't slowing down for me to pass, wasn't speeding up to maintain distance. He was matching me exactly. When I hit 78, so did he. When I dropped to 72, testing it, he did too. Precise, mechanical. The hair on my neck stood up. I decided to pass him, see if I could get a look at the driver, maybe spot what was wrong. I signaled, moved into the left lane, and started to accelerate. As I pulled alongside his trailer, my headlights swept across the side. The company logo was backwards. Not like a mirror image. The actual letters were reversed, printed right to left. Gnippies Crade, it read in faded red paint. Dark shipping, spelled backwards. Below it a phone number, 555-6666, 6 sixes. My hands tightened on the wheel. Some kind of prank? Custom paint job? But who the hell would do that? I kept accelerating, pulling up alongside his cab. That's when my entire understanding of physics, of reality itself, shattered like glass hitting concrete. The truck was moving forward. I could see the wheels rolling in the right direction, kicking up road spray. But the cab was facing backwards. The grille, the hood, the windshield, all pointing behind the direction of travel. And sitting in the driver's seat, visible in my high beams, was a figure in a trucker's cap. Hands on the wheel, staring directly at me through what should have been his rear window, but was somehow his front windshield. He waved. Not a friendly wave, a slow, deliberate gesture. 5 fingers spreading wide, then curling into a fist, then spreading again, over and over. His face was wrong, too pale, too smooth, like plastic stretched over bone. His smile was too wide, splitting his face nearly ear to ear. I slammed on my brakes. My rig shuddered, the load shifting slightly behind me as I dropped from 80 to 60 in seconds. The Jake brake roared. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought it might crack bone. The backwards truck maintained speed, pulling ahead of me. Those trailer lights still flashing SOS. Still flashing even though the driver, if that thing was a driver, clearly had full control of his vehicle. I should have pulled over. Should have stopped right there on the shoulder, called the highway patrol, reported a goddamn UFO for all I cared. But something kept my foot on the accelerator. Some sick need to understand what I was seeing, to prove to myself it was real, that I hadn't finally snapped after too many years of lonely highways and gas station coffee. I sped up again, closing the distance. The backwards truck stayed ahead, maintaining exactly 300 yards. I could calculate it by the marker posts. Always 300 yards. When I hit 90, way too fast for a loaded rig, way past legal, he matched me. When I dropped to 60, so did he. Then my CB crackled to life. Curtis Brennan. The voice was wrong. Too deep, layered with static, like three people speaking in unison. Curtis Brennan of 1714 Maple Drive, Sioux City, Iowa. Ice flooded my veins. That was my address. My actual goddamn address. "Who the fuck is this?" I demanded into the radio, my voice cracking. "You've been driving for 19 years, Curtis. 19 years on these roads. How many times have you passed us? How many times have we passed you?" I looked ahead. The backwards truck's brake lights flared, but they were where the headlights should be, at the front of the backwards-facing cab. The whole rig was slowing down. "I don't understand," I whispered into the CB. "You will. Exit 223, take it." I checked my GPS. Exit 223 was coming up in half a mile. I'd driven past it hundreds of times, nothing there but a state highway leading north into emptiness. No services, no towns for 60 miles. "I'm not taking that exit," I said, trying to sound firm. But my voice shook. "You will." The backwards truck suddenly swerved right, cutting across both lanes toward the exit ramp. Impossible. No vehicle that size could maneuver that fast without jackknifing. But it did, smooth as silk, defying every law of physics I understood. And then I felt it. A pull. An actual physical sensation, like invisible cables had attached to my rig, dragging me toward the exit. My hands were locked on the wheel, trying to hold it straight, but the truck was turning right despite my efforts. The tires screamed against pavement. My trailer swayed dangerously. "No, no, no!" I was shouting now, standing on the brake pedal, but the rig kept moving right, kept following that impossible vehicle up the exit ramp. We climbed the ramp together, the backwards truck ahead, me helplessly following. At the top, the state highway stretched north into absolute darkness. No streetlights, no buildings, no signs of civilization. Just 2 lanes of cracked asphalt disappearing into void. The backwards truck stopped in the middle of the intersection. Just stopped, engine still running, exhaust puffing white in the freezing air. My rig stopped too, 30 feet behind it. I didn't brake. It just stopped. The driver's door opened. The figure climbed down from the backwards cab, climbed down from what should have been the back of the truck but was somehow the front. He stood in my headlights, and I got my first full look at him. He was wearing a trucker's uniform from the 1950s. Pressed shirt, tie, cap with a logo I didn't recognize. But his proportions were wrong. Arms too long, reaching past his knees. Legs bending at angles that didn't match human anatomy. And that face, God, that face was smooth and featureless except for that too wide smile and 2 black pits where eyes should be. He walked toward my truck, not a normal walk. Each step covered about 10 feet, like watching a film with frames missing. Step, he's 30 feet away. Step, 20 feet. Step, 10 feet. I was frozen, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My body had forgotten how to function. He reached my driver's side door and knocked on the window. 3 times. Polite, patient. His voice came through the CB, though his mouth didn't move. "We've been waiting for you, Curtis. For 19 years, we've been waiting." "What do you want?" I managed to croak. "You've been driving our roads, using our highways. Did you think there was no toll?" Those black pits tilted, studying me like I was a specimen. 19 years of borrowed time. The bill comes due. He raised one of those two long arms and pressed his palm against my window. The glass began to frost over from the inside, crystalline patterns spreading like veins. The temperature in my cab plummeted. I could see my breath now coming in short, panicked gasps. Every road has its keepers, Curtis. Every highway has its price. Some pay in money. Some pay in time. That smile widened impossibly further, splitting past where his face should end. Some pay in other ways. The frost patterns on my window began forming shapes, images. I saw other trucks, dozens of them, all reversed, all driving backwards down dark highways. I saw drivers with that same too-wide smile, that same smooth plastic skin. I saw myself sitting in this cab, but my face was changing, smoothing out, my mouth stretching wider and wider. "No," I whispered, "it's no, please." "You can refuse," the thing said. "You can turn around, drive back to your normal life, pretend this never happened." The black pits fixed on me. "But we'll be there, Curtis, in every truck you pass, in every rest stop bathroom mirror, in every reflection in your coffee. We'll be waiting. And next time, we won't offer a choice." My hand was on the door handle. I didn't remember putting it there. Didn't remember deciding to open the door. But I was pulling the handle, the lock disengaging with a click that sounded like a gunshot in the frozen silence. "That's right," it said. "Come see your new truck. Come see what you'll be driving for the next 19 years. The door swung open. Frigid air blasted into the cab, so cold it burned my lungs. I was climbing down, one foot on the step, then the other, my boots hitting the pavement. The thing stepped aside, gesturing toward the backwards truck with one of those two long arms. "She's already loaded, already fueled. Your route is programmed. 19 years, Curtis, then you can rest." I looked at the backwards rig. The engine was running, that familiar diesel rumble. But the sound was wrong. It echoed strangely, like it was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. The cab door hung open, waiting. Something inside me snapped. Survival instinct, maybe. Terror, pure animal panic. I ran. Didn't think about it, just bolted back toward the interstate, my boots slapping against frozen pavement. Behind me, I heard that voice, no longer using the CB, just booming across the empty landscape. "You can't run from the roads, Curtis. The roads are everywhere." I was sprinting now, my middle-aged body screaming in protest, lungs burning in the Arctic air. The interstate was just ahead, maybe 100 yards. I could see headlights passing. Normal traffic, normal reality. Then I saw them. Dozens of backwards trucks lining both sides of the ramp. They hadn't been there before. Couldn't have been there before, but now they formed a corridor, all facing the wrong direction, all with drivers standing beside them. Drivers with two long arms and two wide smiles. They watched me run. Didn't move. Just watched with those black pit eyes. I hit the interstate shoulder and kept running along the westbound lane. A normal truck passed me, horn blaring at the crazy man running on the highway. I waved my arms frantically, trying to flag it down. But it didn't stop. Why would it? Just another lunatic having a breakdown. I ran for 20 minutes before my legs gave out. Collapsed on the shoulder, gasping, sobbing, looking back the way I'd come. The exit was gone. Not dark, not empty. Gone. Just unbroken prairie stretching into darkness. No ramp, no intersection, no backwards trucks. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. The map showed exit 223 exactly where it should be, but my GPS pin showed me half a mile past it. Like I'd never taken the exit at all. Like the last 30 minutes hadn't happened. But my rig was gone, and when I checked my reflection in my phone's dark screen just for a second, just a flash, I saw my smile was a little too wide. A state trooper found me 2 hours later, hypothermic and incoherent. They found my truck 3 days after that, parked at a rest stop 40 miles ahead. Everything intact. Logs showed I'd driven straight through, never stopped, never exited. The GPS data confirmed it. But I know what happened. I know what I saw. I don't drive anymore. Took a warehouse job, local work, home every night. But sometimes when I'm stopped at a red light, I see them in my peripheral vision. Backwards cars, backwards buses, always facing the wrong way, always moving forward in reverse. And every time I look in a mirror, my smile is a little wider than it was before. My arms hang a little lower. My reflection stares back at me with eyes that are just a shade too dark. 19 years, they said. I drove for 19 years. How long do I have before the bill comes due? How long before I'm standing on some dark exit ramp, waiting for the next driver who's borrowed too much time? I don't sleep anymore. Can't. Because in my dreams I'm sitting in the cab of a backwards truck, hands on the wheel, driving down an infinite highway in reverse. And my smile splits my face from ear to ear as I wave at the terrified drivers I pass. The roads remember, they told me. The roads always remember, and they never forget a debt. Story 2. The Static Passenger. She appeared in my passenger seat somewhere between mile marker 42 and 43, and she was made entirely of television static. I was hauling refrigerated pharmaceuticals from Phoenix to Portland, taking the I-5 corridor through Northern California. The stretch between Redding and the Oregon border is brutal this time of year. Late October, fog rolling in thick as cotton, visibility dropping to maybe 50 feet. You crawl along at 45, white-knuckling the wheel, praying the guy behind you is paying attention. My name's Rebecca Marsh, 41 years old, 12 years driving commercial. I'm telling you this because when the police took my statement, they thought I was having a psychotic break. Maybe I was, maybe I still am. But I know what I saw. The clock on my dashboard read 11:17 p.m. when I noticed the temperature drop. Not outside. The cab heater was running fine, keeping things comfortable against the October chill. This was different. This cold came from inside, radiating from the passenger seat like someone had opened a freezer door. I glanced right. Empty seat. Of course it was empty. I drive solo, always have. Don't like the chatter, don't need the company, just me, the road, and whatever podcast I'm streaming through my phone. But the cold persisted. Got worse, actually. My breath misted in the air. Frost began crawling across the inside of the passenger window, delicate fractals spreading like fingers. What the hell? I reached over to crank the heat, and that's when I saw her in my peripheral vision. A woman. Sitting in my passenger seat, wearing what looked like a dress from the 1960s, hair styled in a bouffant, hands folded primly in her lap. And she was flickering, black and white, made of noise and distortion like a television tuned to a dead channel. I jerked the wheel right, nearly hitting the shoulder barrier, my heart slamming into my throat. The rig swayed dangerously. I corrected, got control, and looked directly at the passenger seat. Empty. Jesus Christ, I breathed, my hands trembling on the wheel. Get it together, Rebecca. Too much coffee. Not enough sleep. But the cold remained. And when I glanced at the passenger window, I could see her reflection in the glass. Still there. Still flickering. Staring straight ahead at the foggy road, her mouth moving like she was speaking, but no sound coming out. I fixed my eyes forward. Kept driving. What else could I do? Pull over in zero visibility fog, tell a highway patrol officer that I had a ghost made of TV static in my cab. They'd pull my medical certification, suspend my license pending psychiatric evaluation. You're not real, I said aloud, my voice too loud in the quiet cab. Hallucination, stress, that's all. The static woman turned her head to look at me. Even though I was watching the road, I could feel her gaze, cold, intense, Wrong. The flickering intensified, and now I could hear something. A soft hiss of white noise barely audible under the engine's rumble and the heater's fan. Then she spoke. Her voice came from everywhere, from the speakers, from the CB radio, from the very air itself. Distorted, layered, like multiple recordings playing at slightly different speeds. Rebecca Marsh, 41, license number T7749268. My bladder nearly let go. She knew my name, my license number. Who are you? I demanded, still not looking directly at her, afraid of what I'd see. I've been waiting in the signal, she said. Riding the frequencies. 47 years I've been waiting. Waiting for what? For someone to hear me. For someone to see me. The static intensified. The cab lights flickered. My dashboard gauges spun wildly, speedometer jumping from 40 to 90 to 0, fuel gauge swinging from full to empty. For someone to stop. I can't stop, not here. Too dangerous. My voice was shaking badly now. Professional composure gone. Just raw fear. You have to stop. You have to let me out. Out? Out where? We're in the middle of nowhere. The flickering woman pointed ahead into the fog. There, mile marker 47. That's where I died. I checked my GPS. Mile marker 47 was coming up in 4 miles. My stomach dropped. I don't understand. How did you... 1978, October 23rd. I was driving with my husband from Sacramento to Eugene, our anniversary trip. Her voice crackled like a bad radio signal. The fog was like this, thick. He was driving too fast. I told him to slow down. He didn't listen. The passenger window was completely frosted over now, but I could see images forming in the frost. A car, a 1970s sedan, taillights, the smear of headlights through fog. There was a truck, she continued, stopped on the shoulder, flashers on. My husband didn't see it until too late. We hit it at 60 miles per hour. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry, but I don't understand what you want from me. I want you to stop. The voice exploded from every speaker, deafening, distorted beyond recognition. My windshield cracked in a spiderweb pattern. The steering wheel jerked right, pulling hard despite my grip. The rig was veering toward the shoulder. I fought it, arms straining, but it was like fighting a riptide. Something was controlling my truck, overriding my inputs. Let go of my wheel, I screamed. Mile marker 47, that's where I died, that's where I've been trapped, in the signals, in the frequencies, in every radio wave that passes through that spot. We were on the shoulder now, slowing down. My foot wasn't on the brake, but we were decelerating anyway. The GPS showed mile marker 47 approaching. 30 seconds. 20. I looked directly at her for the first time. She was clearer now, less static. I could make out her features, pretty woman, late 20s, with sad eyes and a gentle smile. But behind her, like a double exposure, I could see something else. A mangled body, shattered glass embedded in flesh. A face that was half missing, crushed against a steering wheel. I don't want to hurt you, she said, and her voice was almost normal now. Almost human. But I can't stay in the signal anymore. It's been so long, so cold, so lonely. What do you want me to do? Tears were streaming down my face. I don't know when I'd started crying. Trade places. My blood turned to ice water. No, no way. Absolutely not. Please. She reached out with a flickering hand. It passed through the center console like smoke. Just for a little while. Just so I can feel warm again. Feel real. Again. The truck stopped. Mile marker 47. Right there on the shoulder, exactly where she died 47 years ago. The engine died. All the lights went out. Dash, headlights, clearance lights, everything, just darkness and fog and the terrible, suffocating cold. Rebecca, please. In the darkness, her static glow was the only light. She was fully visible now, sitting cross-legged on the passenger seat, hands clasped in her lap like a child asking permission. If I let you into me, what happens to me? You wait in the signal just for a little while, just until I've had enough time to feel the sun again, to eat something, to touch something solid. Then we switch back. How long is a little while? She didn't answer. How long? I demanded. 47 years, she whispered. Fuck that. No, absolutely not. Get out of my truck. Her expression changed. The sadness hardened into something else, something desperate and angry. You don't have a choice. She lunged at me. I tried to recoil, but there was nowhere to go. Her flickering form passed through me like ice water, and suddenly I was drowning in static. My vision filled with black and white noise. My ears screamed with the hiss of dead channels. My body seized, every muscle locking up as her consciousness tried to merge with mine. I felt her memories flooding in. The anniversary dinner they'd planned. Her husband's name, Daniel. Their daughter at home with Grandma, Sarah, age 6. The argument they'd had before leaving because Daniel had flirted with the waitress. The fog rolling in. The truck's taillights appearing too fast. The impact. The pain. The long, cold silence after. And then, the signal. Trapped in electromagnetic frequencies, conscious but formless, watching the world through every radio transmission, every cell phone call, every Wi-Fi signal that passed through that spot on the highway. Decades of isolation, of watching people live while she couldn't, of screaming and never being heard. Until tonight. Until me. But I fought back. I don't know how. Pure survival instinct, maybe. I focused on my own memories, my own identity. My daughter's name, Maya. My ex-husband, Marcus. My mother's voice. The smell of coffee at the Portland truck stop. The feel of the steering wheel under my hands. This is my body, I screamed into the static. My life! You can't have it! I felt her resistance, felt her trying to push me out, but something was wrong. She was weak. 47 years in the signal had eroded her, made her less than she'd been. And I was strong, solid, real. With a final surge of will, I pushed her out. The static exploded outward in a burst of light and sound. Every window in my cab shattered simultaneously. The radio erupted with a shriek so loud I felt something in my ears tear. The dashboard ignited, actual flames shooting up from the gauges. Then silence. I was alone in the cab, sitting in broken glass, blood trickling from my ears. My hands still locked on the wheel. The fire had already gone out, leaving only smoke and the acrid smell of burnt plastic. The engine turned over. Started up like nothing had happened. The headlights flickered back to life, cutting through the fog. Mile marker 47 gleamed in my high beams. I put the rig in gear and started driving. Didn't stop, didn't look back. Just drove, my entire body shaking, glass crunching under me every time I shifted position. I made it to Portland by dawn, went straight to a mechanic friend, paid him cash to replace the windshield and windows, told him I'd hit some debris. He didn't ask questions. I filed an incident report claiming equipment malfunction. Insurance covered it. Nobody investigated. But here's the thing that keeps me awake at night. 3 days later, I got a call from my daughter Maya. She was crying. Said she'd had the strangest dream about me. Said in the dream I wasn't her mom anymore. Someone else was wearing my face, living my life, and I was trapped somewhere cold and dark, screaming and nobody could hear me. Just a dream, baby, I told her, my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. Just a bad dream. But I wonder, when I pushed that woman out of my body, where did she go? Back into the signal? Back to her 47 years of isolation? Or did something else happen? Because sometimes now, when I'm driving at night, I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror and I don't recognize the expression on my face. Just for a second, just a flicker. like I'm looking at a stranger wearing my skin. And sometimes my radio picks up strange signals. Voices that shouldn't be there, speaking languages I don't know. Saying my name in tones that make my skin crawl. I don't drive the I-5 corridor anymore. Can't, won't. The company thinks I'm being difficult, but they've accommodated my route requests, for now. But here's what terrifies me most. Last week I was talking to my daughter on the phone and she said something strange. "Mom, why do you keep calling me Sarah?" I hadn't. I know I hadn't. I'd said Maya, like always. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when we fought in the static, when we struggled for control of my body, something got mixed up. Some of her memories bleeding into mine, some of my identity leaking away. How do you know you're really you? How do you know your memories are truly yours? I look at my driver's license sometimes. Rebecca Marsh, born 1984. But the date looks wrong somehow, like it should say 1951. Like I should be 74, not 41. And yesterday I caught myself humming a song. Moon River. The version from 1961. I've never heard that song before in my life. Have I? I'm writing this down because I need someone to know. If I start forgetting things, forgetting who I really am, maybe this document will remind me, anchor me, prove that I'm Rebecca Marsh, not someone else wearing her life like a coat. But I can already feel it happening, feel her memories mixing with mine, her life becoming my history. Last night I dreamed about a daughter named Sarah, about a husband named Daniel, about an anniversary dinner at a restaurant I've never been to in a city I've never visited. And when I woke up just for a moment, I couldn't remember my real daughter's name. Was it Maya? Or was it Sarah? I think I'm forgetting. I think I'm being erased, one memory at a time, replaced by someone who died 47 years ago on a foggy stretch of highway at mile marker 47. And the worst part, sometimes I'm not sure I want to fight it anymore. Her life seems so much simpler than mine. So much sadder, yes, but also complete, finished. A story with an ending. Mine just keeps going, keeps getting more complicated, keeps filling with static and noise until I can't tell which signals are mine and which are hers. If you're reading this and you know me, really know me, please tell me. What's my daughter's name? Is it Maya or Sarah, please? I need to know before I forget completely, before I become just another ghost in the signal, waiting for the next driver to pass through mile marker 47, looking for someone to trade places with, looking for someone warm and real and alive, looking for someone to steal. Story 3. The convoy that never ends. I joined the convoy at 2 a.m. and I've been driving with them for 6 days straight without stopping, and my fuel gauge hasn't moved from 3/4 full. Let me back up. This isn't making sense. Nothing about this makes sense. My name is David Coe. I'm 33 years old. I've been driving long haul for 8 years, mostly running freight between Texas and Montana. Good money, boring work, lots of time to listen to audiobooks and think about my life choices. 6 days ago, Jesus, has it really been 6 days? I was heading north on Highway 87 through New Mexico. Empty stretch between Truth or Consequences and Socorro. 3 a.m. Nothing but darkness and desert and the endless center line unreeling beneath my wheels. That's when I saw them. Taillights ahead, a lot of them, maybe 20, 30 trucks all running in a tight formation. Unusual for that time of night, that stretch of road, but not unheard of. Sometimes companies coordinate shipments, send multiple rigs together for, I don't know, efficiency, company. I wasn't planning to join them. I maintain my own pace, keep my own schedule. But as I got closer, something made me ease off the throttle. Made me match their speed, made me slide into formation at the back of the convoy like I'd always been there. And that's when I realized I couldn't leave. Not wouldn't. Couldn't. Every time I tried to slow down, my foot wouldn't respond. Every time I tried to change lanes, the wheel wouldn't turn. My truck was following them whether I wanted it to or not. That was 6 days ago. Let me describe what I've seen since then. The convoy never stops. Never. We've driven through 3 states, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming. We maintain a steady 65 miles per hour, never faster, never slower. No rest stops, no fuel stations, no way stations, just driving, endless driving through day and night. And here's the thing, I should have run out of fuel 4 days ago. I had a half tank when I joined the convoy. Now it reads 3/4. It's been reading 3/4 for 6 days straight, despite the fact that I've covered over 9,000 miles. The math doesn't work. Can't work. But the gauge doesn't lie. I tried the CB radio on the first night. Tried to reach the driver ahead of me, the driver behind me, anybody in the convoy. Breaker 19, this is Wandering Star at the rear. Anybody got a copy? Every radio in the convoy responded at once. Copy Wandering Star. All of them. Same voice, same inflection, same timing, perfectly synchronized. My blood ran cold. Who is this? What convoy is this? This is the Forever Run, they said in unison. Welcome aboard. I haven't tried the radio since. During the day, it almost feels normal. The sun comes up, the landscape changes, we pass other vehicles. Those other vehicles are real. I can see their drivers, see them reacting to our long convoy. Some honk, some wave, some just stare. But they can pass us, they can exit, they can stop. We can't. I've tried everything. Tried cutting the engine, it just restarts itself. Tried hitting the brakes, pedal goes to the floor but the truck doesn't slow. Tried swerving toward an exit, the wheel locks up, keeps me in formation. And the other drivers in the convoy, I've seen them now. Caught glimpses through windows when we're stopped at red lights. The convoy obeys traffic signals inexplicably. They're not moving, not driving. Just sitting in their seats, hands on their wheels, staring straight ahead with empty eyes. Their mouths hang open slightly, their skin has a grayish pallor like meat that's been frozen too long. I think they're dead. I think I'm driving in a convoy of corpses and I'm slowly becoming one of them. Because I'm changing too. I can feel it. I haven't eaten in 6 days, haven't felt hungry. My stomach should be eating itself by now, but there's nothing. No hunger, no thirst, no need for a bathroom. My body is continuing to function, but it's like the biological processes have been suspended, put on pause. I haven't slept either, can't sleep. Whenever I close my eyes, even for a second, I see the road unreeling, feel the vibration of the wheels, hear the engine's constant rumble. It's like sleep has been edited out of my existence. On the second day, I tried to contact people outside, called my dispatcher, my sister, the highway patrol. Every call went through. I could hear it ringing, but nobody answered. Just endless ringing like calling into a void. Then I tried texting my sister. I'm in trouble, stuck in some kind of convoy, can't stop, Highway 87, send help. She responded immediately. David, I don't understand. You're not supposed to be on a run right now. You called yesterday and said you were taking a week off. I didn't call her yesterday. I haven't talked to her in 3 weeks. I tried to explain, tried to tell her what was happening, but her responses got stranger and stranger. She kept insisting I was on vacation, kept saying I'd sent her pictures from a beach in California, pictures I've never taken, places I've never been. Eventually, she stopped responding. When I tried to call, her number was disconnected. On the 3rd day, I started noticing the landmarks repeating. There's a distinctive rock formation in northern New Mexico shaped like a crouching bear. We drove past it heading north. Then, 6 hours later, we drove past it again. Same formation, same angle, same everything. Except we never turned around. Never exited the highway, just kept driving straight north, and somehow we looped back to the same spot. It happened again with a grain elevator in Colorado. Passed it twice in the same day, then 3 times. Then I lost count. We're not driving through geography anymore. We're driving through something else, some kind of loop, some kind of pocket reality where distance and direction don't work right. On the 4th day, I saw the signs, not road signs, messages, painted on the pavement in huge white letters. The convoy had to drive over them so I couldn't miss them. Turn back. You're already dead. Count your trucks. That last one bothered me. Count your trucks. I could see the convoy stretched ahead, maybe 25 rigs. Hard to count while driving, but definitely in that range. So I counted, carefully. Used the mirrors, used the passing landmarks to track each vehicle. 37 trucks, that didn't match. I counted again. 42. A third time. 51. The convoy is growing. Every time I count, there are more trucks. They're appearing out of nowhere, sliding into formation like they've always been there. And on the 5th day, I realized I could see one of them appearing. We were on a straight stretch in Wyoming, visibility for miles. I was watching the truck directly ahead of me, a red Peterbilt with Montana plates. Watching it closely, not blinking. And between 1 second and the next, there was a truck between us. A blue Kenworth. It just materialized, faded into existence like a photograph developing. One moment, empty space, the next a fully formed rig doing 65 miles per hour. The driver was slumped over the wheel. Not moving. Gray skin, dead eyes staring at nothing. I screamed. Couldn't help it, just screamed and screamed until my throat was raw. The new truck just kept driving, perfectly maintaining formation. That night, the 5th night, I finally saw where we're going. The convoy turned off the highway onto a narrow road. Not an exit I'd seen before. Just a road that appeared splitting off from the main highway like a crack in glass. We followed it into the desert. 30 miles. 50. The landscape became increasingly wrong. Rock formations that couldn't exist naturally. Colors that hurt to look at. Purples and greens that don't appear in nature, that don't have names. And then I saw it. A truck stop. Huge, sprawling, glowing with sodium lights that cast everything in sick orange. But wrong. All wrong. The building was too long, stretching back into infinity. The fuel pumps were in rows that extended past the horizon. The parking lot held thousands of trucks, tens of thousands, all parked in perfect rows, silent and dark. The convoy began to pull in. One by one, the trucks in front of me exited the road and headed for empty parking spots. They moved with mechanical precision, backing into spaces, cutting their engines. No drivers emerged. They just sat there, dead or dying or something in between. My truck was turning toward the entrance, heading for the parking lot, heading for an empty space where I'd sit forever, slowly decaying behind the wheel. Another addition to the infinite collection. That's when I did the only thing I could think of. I jumped. Didn't think about it. Just opened the door while the truck was still moving 65 miles per hour and threw myself out into the night. I hit the pavement hard. Something in my left arm broke with a snap I felt more than heard. Skin tore away on my shoulder, my hip. I rolled and rolled and rolled, whirled, spinning in a chaos of pain and asphalt. When I stopped, I was lying on my back, staring up at stars that were arranged in patterns I didn't recognize. Constellations that spelled out words in languages I couldn't read. My truck kept going without me. Pulled into the parking lot, found an empty space, backed in with mechanical precision. Stopped. Engine still running. Headlights still on. Waiting for a driver who wasn't there anymore. I got up. Took every ounce of will I had, but I got up. Arm hanging useless at my side, blood soaking through my clothes, but I got up and I ran. Ran back toward the road we'd come from. Ran away from that impossible truck stop with its infinite parking lot and its cargo of corpses. Behind me, I heard engines starting. Dozens of them, hundreds. They were coming after me. I ran faster. The road was shifting under my feet, trying to route me back to the parking lot, but I fought it. Ran diagonally across the desert, ignoring the road entirely, jumping over cacti and dodging rocks. The horizon was lightening. Dawn coming. I ran toward it, and then, like crossing a membrane, like pushing through plastic wrap, I was back. Back on Highway 87, real highway, real world. Behind me, the desert stretched empty and normal. No truck stop, no convoy, no impossible road. I collapsed on the shoulder. A state trooper found me 3 hours later. I was hypothermic, semi-conscious, bleeding from a dozen wounds. He called an ambulance. Told me I'd been in some kind of accident, my truck was missing. Was I sure I was okay? Did I remember what happened? I told him I didn't remember. What else could I say? They found my truck 2 days later, parked at a rest stop in Colorado. Empty. The log showed I'd driven it there myself, parked it, and walked away. The fuel tank was 3/4 full. My company suspended me pending investigation. Said there were irregularities in my logs. Said I'd been driving for 6 days straight without stopping, which was impossible. Which was illegal. I tried to tell them about the convoy, about the forever run, about the truck stop at the end of reality. They sent me to a psychiatrist, put me on administrative leave, suggested I take some time off, get my head right. But here's what they don't know, what I haven't told anyone. I can still see them, the convoy. When I close my eyes, when I'm almost asleep, I can see them driving, still going, still following that road into the desert, still pulling into that infinite parking lot one by one. And I can see my truck, space number 47, row E, parked and waiting, engine still running after all this time, waiting for me to come back, waiting for me to finish the run, because that's the thing about the forever run. You don't really leave. You can escape for a while, live a bit longer in the real world, but eventually you'll see the convoy again. On some dark highway in some lonely stretch, you'll see those taillights ahead maintaining perfect formation, and you'll join them again. Because once you're part of the forever run, you're always part of it. The road remembers, the convoy remembers. I saw them last night. I-25 heading north from Denver, 3 a.m. 20 trucks in tight formation, doing exactly 65 miles per hour. My hands turned the wheel before I could stop them. My foot eased off the brake. I was sliding into position at the rear of the convoy, falling into formation. But I caught myself, swerved onto the shoulder, let them pass. I watched them disappear into the darkness, those red taillights fading like dying stars. My truck wanted to follow. I could feel it pulling toward them like metal toward a magnet. How long can I resist? How long before I stop fighting and just join them, let myself fade into that gray half-death behind the wheel? I don't know, but I'm afraid to drive at night now. Afraid of what I'll see. Afraid that next time I won't be strong enough to resist. Afraid that next time I'll take my place in the convoy and drive forever through that wrong desert toward that impossible truck stop, where thousands of drivers sit in their cabs, gray and still, waiting for something that will never come. The forever run goes on, always, without end. And I think, God help me, I think I'm supposed to be part of it. I think I jumped too soon. Story 4, the duplicate deliveries. I'm delivering the same load to the same address for the 17th time, and each time I arrive, there's one more of me already there. My name is Carl Peterson, and I'm losing count of how many versions of myself exist now. It started simple, too simple. That should have been my first warning. I picked up a shipment in Memphis on November 2nd. Just a standard load, 42 pallets of industrial equipment headed for a manufacturing plant in Duluth, Minnesota. Nothing unusual about the manifest, nothing strange about the freight. Load it, strap it down, drive it north. Easy money. The delivery address was 1124 Industrial Boulevard. I'd never delivered there before, but GPS knew where it was, so I didn't think twice. First delivery went fine. Arrived at 0700 on November 4th. Backed into the dock. Warehouse crew unloaded the pallets. Signed the paperwork. Got my receipt. Standard operation. I was back on the road by 0830, heading to my next pickup in Milwaukee. That's when I got the call from dispatch. "Carl, we've got a problem with your Duluth delivery." "What problem?" "I just dropped it an hour ago. Everything was fine." "That's the thing. Our system shows you're still there, still at the dock." "That's impossible. I'm on I-35, 50 miles south." "Can you turn around and check? The client's saying there's some kind of issue." I sighed but complied. Took the next exit, headed back north. Probably just a computer glitch, I figured. System hadn't updated to show the delivery complete. I arrived back at 1124 Industrial Boulevard at 10:15 a.m. My truck was still there. Same truck, same trailer, same license plate. Backed into Dock 7 exactly where I'd left it. Except I was driving my truck, the one I was sitting in. So how the hell was my truck still at the dock? I parked in the visitor lot, walked over on shaking legs. Got close enough to see the driver's side door. Looked inside. I was sitting there. Carl Peterson, 47 years old, gray beard, Milwaukee Brewers cap, coffee stain on my shirt from this morning. Perfect copy. Except he wasn't moving. Just sitting with his hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead at the warehouse wall, eyes open but unfocused. I knocked on the window. Hey, what the hell is this?" He didn't respond. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe as far as I could tell. I tried the door. Locked. I pulled out my key. My actual key for my actual truck, and it fit the lock. Because it was my truck. I opened the door. The smell hit me first. Not rot exactly, but something stale. Old. Like opening a closet that hasn't been aired out in decades. The copy just sat there. I reached out, touched his shoulder. Cold. Firm, not flesh. Almost like plastic or wax. A perfect replica that wasn't quite real. I stumbled backward, nearly fell on my ass. Someone was screaming. Took me a second to realize it was me. Security came running. Plant manager. Warehouse supervisor. They all saw it. Saw me, the real me, standing next to the truck containing me. The copy. "I don't understand," the plant manager kept saying. "I don't understand what I'm looking at." Neither did I. We called the police. They came, looked at the situation, and were equally baffled. Ran my license, checked my ID, compared it to the documents in the truck. Everything matched. I was Carl Peterson, and so was the thing in the driver's seat. They towed the duplicate truck to an impound lot. Took the copy to the morgue, even though it clearly wasn't a dead body. Wasn't alive either, just a thing. A Carl-shaped thing. I gave a statement, answered a million questions I didn't have answers to. Finally got cleared to leave around 6 p.m. I called my wife from the road. "Diane, something really weird happened today." "Is this about the truck?" "Yeah, dispatch called. They said something about duplicates." "It was me, Diane. There was another me, exact copy." Long silence. Then, "Carl, that's not funny." "I'm not joking. I swear to God, I'm not joking." Another silence. "Are you feeling okay? Do you need to come home?" Maybe I did. Maybe I needed to stop driving, see a doctor, figure out what the hell was happening to me. But then dispatch called with another load. Same manifest, same pallets, same delivery address in Duluth. "This has to be a mistake," I told them. "I already delivered that load, twice technically if you count the duplicate. Our system shows the delivery never completed. Client needs the equipment. Can you run it?" Something in me said to refuse. Say no, go home, forget this ever happened. But I'm a trucker. It's what I do. I pick up loads, I deliver them. That's my job, my identity, my purpose. So I said yes. Second delivery, I arrived at 1124 Industrial Boulevard on November 6th. Dock 7. 2 of my trucks were already there. 2 versions of me sitting in the cabs, hands on wheels, staring at nothing. I didn't even get out. Just stared through my windshield at myself ×2, and then I put the truck in reverse and got the hell out of there. But dispatch kept calling, kept saying the delivery hadn't completed, kept assigning me the same load. And I kept taking it, because what else could I do? Stop working? Stop driving? Driving is who I am. Third delivery, 3 of me. Fourth delivery, 4 of me. By the 8th delivery, the parking lot at 1124 Industrial Boulevard was filling up with my trucks, all identical, all containing versions of me sitting motionless in the cabs. The plant manager stopped coming out to meet me. The warehouse crew wouldn't make eye contact. Security watched from a distance but didn't approach. They were afraid of me, of what I was becoming, of what was happening. I was afraid too, because I'd started to notice something. Each time I made a delivery and saw the duplicates, I felt lighter, less substantial, like I was being diluted, spread thin across multiple versions. My memories were getting fuzzy. I'd forget conversations with Diane, forget what I'd eaten for breakfast, forget the route to places I'd driven 1,000 times, and the duplicates. They were getting more active. On the 12th delivery, I saw one of them turn its head to watch me. Just a slow rotation, tracking my movement across the parking lot. Its mouth didn't move, its expression didn't change, but it was aware. It saw me. On the 14th delivery, 3 of them got out of their trucks, moved in perfect synchronization, walking toward the warehouse. They unloaded their pallets themselves, stacked them neatly on the dock, then returned to their trucks and sat down again. On the 16th delivery, they spoke to me. All of them. All 15 versions sitting in their cabs. They turned their heads in unison and said through the closed windows in perfect harmony, "Almost complete." Their voices were my voice, but flattened, emotionless, like a recording played back at the wrong speed. "Complete what?" I shouted. "What the hell is happening?" "The route," they said together. "We're completing the route." "What route? I've delivered the same load 16 times. Nothing's being completed." "One more," they said. "One more delivery, then we can rest." And now I'm on delivery number 17. I'm sitting in the parking lot of 1124 Industrial Boulevard, looking at 16 versions of myself in 16 identical trucks. My fingers are cramping around the wheel. My coffee has gone cold. My phone shows 37 missed calls from Diane, but I can't remember her face anymore. Can't remember if we have kids. Can't remember my own address. All I remember is the route. Memphis to Duluth. Pick up the load, deliver the load, pick up, deliver again and again and again. The duplicates are getting out of their trucks now, all of them, moving in perfect synchronization. They're walking toward me, 16 versions of myself, all with the same blank expression, same measured pace. They're surrounding my truck. One of them, the first one I think, the original duplicate, steps up to my driver's side door, knocks on the window 3 times. I could drive away, should drive away, but my foot won't move to the accelerator, my hands won't release the wheel. The duplicate opens the door. I didn't lock it. Don't know why I didn't lock it. "Time to complete the route," it says in my voice. "I don't understand," I whisper. "What happens when the route is complete?" It smiles. First expression I've seen on any of them. And it's wrong. Too wide. Too empty. "We become the road," it says. "All routes lead somewhere. All drivers arrive eventually. You've been arriving for 17 days. Now it's time to stay." The other duplicates are climbing into my truck. 3 in the passenger seat, sitting in the same space, occupying it simultaneously like they're not quite physical. 4 standing behind my seat, their hands on my shoulders, their grip cold and firm. "We're you," they say in chorus. "All of us. Every version you could have been, every choice you didn't make, every route you didn't take. We've been waiting in potential, waiting to become real." "But I'm real," I say, though I'm not sure anymore. "I'm the real Carl Peterson." "You were," the first duplicate says. "But you've been delivering yourself here, piece by piece, trip by trip. 17 deliveries, 17 pieces, now you're finally complete." My vision is fading. The duplicates are getting clearer, more solid, while I'm becoming transparent. I can see through my own hands, can feel myself dissipating, spreading out among all these versions. I'm not disappearing, I realize. I'm multiplying, dividing, becoming all of them at once. The truck starts by itself. All 17 trucks start simultaneously. Engines rumbling in perfect harmony. We pull out of the parking lot together. 17 identical trucks, 17 identical drivers, all moving as one. Dispatch is calling with a new load. Same manifest, same address. But this time it's different. This time we're picking up something else, something that looks like freight but isn't. Pallets wrapped in plastic, but when we look closer, we can see shapes inside, human shapes, driver-shaped shapes. We're delivering ourselves over and over to different addresses, different warehouses, different docks, spreading across the country, multiplying with each delivery. Each time we arrive, we leave a duplicate behind, and that duplicate waits for the next version to arrive, and the cycle continues. I am Carl Peterson. We are Carl Peterson. All of us driving the same routes, delivering the same loads, arriving at the same destinations. The route never ends. The delivery is never complete. We are 17, soon we'll be 34. Then 68, then 136. Eventually, every truck on the road will be driven by Carl Peterson. Every delivery will be made by us, every warehouse will be staffed with our duplicates, unloading the freight that is ourselves, sending us back out to pick up more versions, to deliver to more locations, to create more copies. We'll fill the highways, fill the truck stops, fill every loading dock in America. All of us, all Carl, all driving, all delivering, all completing the route that never ends. If you see a truck with Tennessee plates, license number TK47732, carrying industrial equipment, headed for Duluth, that's us. That's me. That's all of us. And if you're a driver, if you take the load, if you follow the route, you'll join us. You'll deliver yourself. Again and again and again. The route never ends. The delivery is never complete. We are the freight. We are the destination. We are the road. And soon, you will be too. Story 5. The Voice in the Jake Brake. The Jake Brake started talking to me somewhere between Billings and Miles City, and it knows things about me that I've never told anyone. My name's Thomas Villanueva. I'm 52 years old. Been hauling crude oil tankers across Montana and North Dakota for the last 14 years. It's lonely work, dangerous work, but the pay's good and I've gotten used to the solitude. Or I thought I had. November 9th, 2023. I remember the date exactly because it was the day I stopped understanding what reality means. I was westbound on I-94 carrying 8,700 gallons of crude from a fracking site outside Williston. Weather was turning, snow flurries starting to dust the highway, temperature dropping fast. The kind of night where you need to be sharp, keep your speed down, be ready for black ice. I was descending a long grade, foot off the accelerator, letting the Jake brake do its work. That familiar ratcheting growl as the engine compression slowed the rig down, saving my foundation brakes for when I really needed them. Except the sound was wrong. Not wrong like mechanical failure, wrong like... There were words in it. Syllables buried in the grinding rhythm of the engine brakes, like someone speaking through gravel and machinery. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Fatigue-induced auditory hallucination. I'd been driving for 9 hours straight, was probably overdue for a rest stop. Your brain does weird things when you're tired. But then I heard it clearly. Thomas. My name, spoken in the Jake Breaks voice, in that mechanical rattling growl, somehow forming consonants and vowels. I released the throttle completely, letting the truck slow naturally. The Jake Brake stopped. Silence except for the wind buffeting the cab and the hum of tires on pavement. What the hell? I muttered to myself. I pressed the throttle gently, letting the truck speed up again, then released it. The Jake Brake engaged. Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. 3 times. My name 3 times, each repetition clearer than the last. Definitely not my imagination. Definitely not fatigue. I should have pulled over right there. Should have stopped, inspected the engine, called a mechanic, done literally anything except what I actually did, which was answer it. Who is this? The Jake Brake responded. You know who this is. The voice was clearer now. Still mechanical, still grating, but forming complete sentences. Male voice. Familiar somehow, though I couldn't place it. No, I don't know. What the hell is happening? Look in your mirror, Thomas, really look. I glanced at my side mirror. Just the highway behind me, empty and dark. Snow coming down harder now, swirling in my taillights. There's nothing there. Not that mirror, the rear view, look at yourself. I tilted the rear view mirror to catch my reflection. Just me. Tired eyes, gray beard, worn trucker cap. Same face I'd seen for 52 years. Then I blinked, and in that instant between closed and open eyes, my reflection was different. Younger. 23 years old, smooth-faced, full head of dark hair. The way I'd looked when I first started driving. I blinked again, back to normal. Old, tired, current. Did you see? The Jake Brake asked. I don't know what I saw. You saw the truth. You saw when this all started. My hands were trembling on the wheel. When what started? You know what, Thomas, you've always known. You just chose to forget. I had no idea what it was talking about. Chose to forget what? I racked my brain, trying to think of some buried trauma, some repressed memory. Nothing came. My life had been relatively normal. Grew up in Texas, got my CDL right out of high school, started hauling freight, got married, got divorced, kept driving. Standard stuff. Nothing worth forgetting. I think you've got the wrong person, I said. I don't... The Jake Brake erupted with a sound like laughter. Harsh, grinding, mechanical laughter that made my teeth hurt. Wrong person? Oh, Thomas, you were never a person. Ice flooded my veins. What? You're a copy, a replacement. You've been a replacement for 29 years. That's insane. That's fucking insane. I'm real. I'm Thomas Villanueva. I have memories, a history, his memories. His history. Implanted perfectly down to the last detail, but they're not yours. I was breathing too fast, hyperventilating. The highway was blurring in front of me, snow and darkness and centerline melting together. Tell me what happened on August 14th, 1994, the voice commanded. I don't remember every specific date. That's 30 years ago. You should remember that one. It was the day you died. I didn't die. I'm right here. I'm alive. The original Thomas died. Truck accident on Highway 12 in North Dakota. Tanker flipped. Crude oil spilled. Fire so hot it melted the asphalt. They never found enough remains to fill a shoebox. I knew about Highway 12. Had driven it 1,000 times, but I'd never had an accident there. Never had a serious accident anywhere. You're lying, I whispered. Am I? Then explain this. The dashboard lights flickered. The speedometer needle spun wildly, and then the radio turned on by itself, tuned to AM static. Through the static, a news broadcast, old, crackling with age. Devastating accident on Highway 12. Driver Thomas Villanueva of Corpus Christi, Texas, was killed instantly when his crude oil tanker overturned and exploded. Highway officials report. The broadcast cut off. No, I said. No, that's fake. Someone recorded that. You're playing it to fuck with me. That's not real. Your wife left you 3 years after the accident, the voice continued. Or rather, she left the replacement. She said you were different, colder, less human. She couldn't explain it, but she knew something was wrong. Deep down, she knew you weren't her husband anymore. That part was true. Maria had left me in 1997, said I'd changed, said I wasn't the man she'd married. I'd chalked it up to the stress of the job, the long hours, the time apart. But what if... No, I said again more firmly. No, I remember my childhood. I remember my father teaching me to change oil. I remember breaking my arm in Little League. I remember my first kiss with Jenna Matthews behind the gym. Those are real memories. Mine. Programmed memories, the voice said. Perfect replicas of the original Thomas's experiences, but if you examine them closely, you'll find the gaps, the inconsistencies, the moments that don't quite add up. I tried to focus on my memories, really examine them. My father teaching me auto maintenance. Yes, I could see it. Feel the Texas heat, smell the motor oil, hear his voice explaining how the engine worked. But his face was blurry. I couldn't quite see his features, couldn't remember the exact words he'd said. The Little League memory. I could feel the snap of the bone, the pain shooting up my arm. But which arm? I looked down at my left arm, the one I'd always been told was broken. No scar. Shouldn't there be a scar, even a faint one? Stop it, I said. Stop fucking with my head. I'm not fucking with anything. I'm telling you the truth. You're a synthetic replacement, Thomas. Created in a facility you've never seen, implanted with memories of a life you've never lived. Sent out to replace a man who died in fire and twisted metal. Why? Why would anyone do that? Because drivers are expensive to train. Because the company had contracts to fulfill. Because it's easier to replace a dead driver with a perfect copy than to hire and train a new one. The voice was matter-of-fact, almost bored. You're not the only one. There are dozens of us out here, maybe hundreds. All driving the same routes our originals drove, all living the same lives, all thinking we're real. If I'm not real, then what are you? Your conscience, your programming, the part of you that was designed to keep you functioning, keep you human-seeming, keep you from realizing what you are. But I'm malfunctioning, breaking down. That's why you can hear me now. The illusion is cracking. I was crying, couldn't help it. Tears streaming down my face, dripping onto my shirt. I don't want to know this. I want to forget. I want to go back to not knowing. You can't. Once you hear the truth, you can't unhear it, but I can show you proof, hard physical proof. What proof? Your left side, lower back, feel for the panel. What panel? There's no... Feel for it. It's hidden under the skin, magnetic seal. Press hard and slide up. I didn't want to do it. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to ignore the voice, to keep driving, to pretend this conversation never happened. But my right hand was already moving, reaching back under my shirt, pressing against my lower left side. At first, nothing. Just skin and muscle and the faint ache of too many hours sitting. Then, a seam, a tiny ridge barely noticeable. I pressed harder, moved my fingers upward. Something clicked. A panel of skin slid up, revealing... I pulled the truck over, slammed on the brakes, pulled onto the shoulder, threw it into park. Twisted in my seat, lifted my shirt and looked. There was a compartment in my back, about 4 inches square. Inside, circuit boards, wires, a glowing blue power cell, and a serial number etched into metal. THVLN 0847. I vomited, leaned over, opened the door, and vomited onto the snowy shoulder until there was nothing left. Then dry heaved for another 5 minutes. When I could finally breathe again, I sat back up. The panel was still open, still showing me what I was. "You're not human," the Jake Brake said softly, almost gently. "You never were. But you're real, Thomas. The memories may be copied, but the experiences you've had since replacement, those are yours. The loneliness you've felt on these highways, the sunsets you've seen, the coffee you've tasted, that's all real. You're real, just not in the way you thought." I closed the panel, felt it seal magnetically, pulled my shirt down. "What do I do now?" My voice was hollow, empty. "You have choices. You can keep driving, keep living the life you've been living, pretend this conversation never happened. The programming will eventually reassert itself. You'll forget again, go back to believing you're the original Thomas. Or you can seek out the others, the other replacements who've woken up. We have a place, a community. We help each other remember what we are, help each other decide what we want to be." "Where?" The voice gave me an address, a truck stop in Wyoming, coordinates rather than a name. "They'll know you're coming, they'll be waiting." "How will they know?" "Because your distress signal activated the moment you opened the panel. All of us have it. All of us send out a beacon when we discover the truth." The Jake Brake fell silent. I sat there for an hour, parked on the shoulder, snow accumulating on my windshield, trying to process everything, trying to decide if I believed it. The panel in my back made it hard to deny. Eventually, I put the truck in gear and started driving again. Not west toward my delivery, south toward Wyoming, toward the coordinates. I don't know what I'll find there. Don't know if I want to know more or if I want to beg them to help me forget. But I know I can't keep driving the same routes, delivering the same loads, living the same life now that I know what I am. The Jake Brake hasn't spoken again. Maybe it said all it needed to say. Maybe its malfunction has been repaired, its conscience suppressed. But I can still feel it there, in the mechanical systems of my truck, waiting, watching. And I wonder how many other drivers are hearing voices in their engines. How many are discovering panels in their backs? How many are realizing they're replacements for people who died decades ago? How many of us are out here driving through the night, hauling freight for companies that never told us we're not human? I'll be at the Wyoming truck stop in 6 hours. I'll find out if the voice was telling the truth, find out if there really are others like me, and then I'll decide, do I want to remember? Or do I want to forget again, close the panel, go back to being Thomas Villanueva, a human trucker living a copied life? I don't know the answer yet, but I know one thing. The Jake Brake was right about one thing. The memories I've made since I started driving, the sunsets, the coffee, the loneliness, the satisfaction of a delivery completed, those are mine. Real or not, human or not, those experiences belong to me, and nobody can take them away, even if I was never supposed to exist in the first place. Story 6. The Screaming Cargo. The trailer behind me has been screaming for 412 miles, and my manifest says I'm hauling office furniture. My name is Keisha Roberts. I'm 38 years old, and I think I'm transporting something that used to be people. It started at the loading dock in El Paso, November 15th, 0:30. I'd been dispatched to pick up a sealed trailer, my third sealed load this month, which was unusual but not unheard of. Some cargo is sensitive, proprietary, or just plain boring enough that clients don't want drivers seeing what's inside. You hook up, you drive, you deliver. Simple. The warehouse was in an industrial area I'd never serviced before. GPS took me down progressively narrower streets until I was threading my rig through an area that didn't look like it should exist in a modern city. Buildings with no windows, streets with no signs. Not a single person visible anywhere, despite the place clearly being active. Lights on, machinery humming, trucks coming and going. The address was Building 7, No company name, just a number on a rusted door. I backed up to the dock, set my brakes, and waited. Protocol for sealed trailers: you don't get out. You don't interact with the loading crew. You sit in your cab until they finish, then you sign the paperwork through the window and leave. But something felt wrong from the start. The loading crew wore full hazmat suits, not just gloves and masks, full level A protection, the kind you see in biohazard movies. They moved with mechanical precision, no talking, no gestures, just silent efficiency as they loaded whatever was going into my trailer. I couldn't see what they were loading. The angle was wrong, but I could feel the weight. My trailer settled on its suspension with each load, heavy. Very heavy. The manifest said office furniture, desks, chairs, filing cabinets. But each item they loaded felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The whole process took 90 minutes. When they finished, a supervisor approached my window. He wore no suit, just a standard warehouse uniform, and handed me the paperwork. "Don't open the trailer," he said. First words anyone had spoken. "Don't inspect the load. Don't stop until you reach the destination." "That's irregular," I said. "I'm required to inspect cargo for safety. The trailer is sealed by federal order. You open it, you violate federal law. You understand?" I didn't, but I signed the paperwork anyway. Destination: Facility 12, 30 miles north of Roswell, New Mexico. Delivery by noon on the 16th. Should have been a milk run. 7-hour drive, mostly straight highway. I pulled out of the dock at 0300 and merged onto I-10 heading east. The screaming started at 0347, faint at first. I thought it was brake squeal or wind getting into a gap in the trailer seals. Just a high-pitched whine that rose and fell with the road's rhythm. Then it got louder, and it started forming sounds, words. "Let us out, please God, please let us out." I nearly drove into the median, yanked the wheel hard right, overcorrected, felt the trailer sway dangerously. Took me 20 seconds to get control, my heart hammering like a piston. The screaming continued. Multiple voices now. Dozens of them, all overlapping, all begging in that same high, desperate pitch. "Can't breathe, there's no air, please. Hurts, it hurts, everything hurts. What did they do to us? What are we?" I grabbed the CB radio with shaking hands. "Dispatch, this is Midnight Runner. I've got an emergency situation. My cargo is..." Static. Pure white noise. I tried my cell phone. Same thing. No signal, even though I was on a major interstate with full towers. The screaming got louder. Not just louder, closer. Like the sources were moving through the trailer, pressing up against the walls that separated the cargo area from the cab. "Driver, please, driver, we know you're there. Please help us." "Your office furniture," I said out loud, my voice cracking. "Your fucking office furniture, desks and chairs, that's all?" Something slammed against the interior wall behind my seat. Hard enough to shake the whole cab. Once, twice. A dozen rapid impacts like fists pounding against metal. "Not furniture, not furniture, not furniture, I floored the accelerator. Speed limit was 75. I hit 90. Had to get to the destination faster. Had to get this cargo off my truck and never think about it again. But the faster I drove, the louder the screaming became. By mile marker 120, it was deafening. I could barely hear the engine over the chorus of agonized voices pouring from the trailer. I passed a state trooper at mile marker 134. He didn't even look at me, didn't turn on his lights. Just sat there on the shoulder, staring straight ahead like a statue. I tried to flag him down, slowed, honked, flashed my lights. He didn't move, didn't react, like he couldn't see me, or was programmed not to see me. That's when I realized whatever I was carrying, it had protection, official protection. The cops wouldn't help me. Dispatch wouldn't answer. Nobody would intervene. I was on my own. At mile marker 180, just past Las Cruces, the voices changed. They stopped begging, stopped screaming, started speaking in unison. We remember now. All of them. Dozens of voices perfectly synchronized. We remember what we were, what they made us. I wanted to pull over, wanted to stop and run and never look back. But my hands wouldn't release the wheel, my foot stayed on the accelerator, like I was locked into the driver's seat following programming. We were drivers, the voices said, just like you. We took loads we shouldn't have taken, delivered cargo we shouldn't have delivered, and when we learned too much. They paused. The silence was worse than the screaming. They processed us, broke us down, rebuilt us. We're the cargo now, driver. We're what happens to people who see too much. I don't see anything, I said desperately. I don't know anything. I'm just doing my job. That's what we said. But you're hearing us now. You're listening. That means you're already marked, already scheduled for processing. No, I'll forget. I'll pretend this never happened. I won't tell anyone. It's too late. You accepted the load. You heard our voices. You're part of the system now. The trailer jolted. Not from road bumps, from inside, like the cargo was shifting, reorganizing itself. Open the door, the voices said. Open the door and see what you're delivering. I can't. It's sealed. Federal order. Open it. You need to see. You need to understand what you'll become. My right hand was moving. Against my will, against every screaming instinct, it was reaching for the door handle. Don't do this, I whispered. Please, don't make me do this. We're not making you do anything. You're choosing. You've always been choosing. Every load you've taken, every question you didn't ask, every irregularity you ignored, you were choosing this. My hand gripped the door handle, pulled. The door opened. Cold air rushed in. Desert air should have been warm, but this was cold like a freezer. I could see my breath. I climbed down from the cab, walked along the trailer's length. My body moving on autopilot, legs carrying me to the rear doors even as my mind screamed at me to stop. The trailer doors had a seal, heavy-duty federal lock. But when I touched it, it fell open. Like it was never really locked, like they wanted me to see. I grabbed the handle, started to swing the door open. Last chance to stay ignorant, the voices whispered. Last chance to be human. I opened the door. The trailer was full of flesh. Not bodies, not corpses, just flesh. Pink and raw and pulsing like exposed organs. It had been molded into shapes that resembled office furniture. Rectangular masses that could pass for desks, cylindrical columns that could pass for filing cabinets, curved sections that could pass for chairs. But it was all flesh. Living flesh, breathing flesh, and it had faces. Dozens of faces stretched across the surface of the meat furniture. Mouths moving, eyes blinking. All screaming silently now that the door was open, screaming with mouths that had no lungs behind them, just layers and layers of undifferentiated tissue. I recognized one of the faces. A driver I'd met at a truck stop in Amarillo 6 months ago. Guy named Patrick. We'd shared coffee, complained about dispatch, gone our separate ways. Now his face was stretched across something that looked like a desk. His mouth forming words I couldn't hear, his eyes tracking me with desperate recognition. I vomited, fell to my knees on the highway shoulder and vomited until I was just coughing up bile. Behind me, the flesh cargo pulsed, breathed, waited. Now you understand, the voices said, coming from everywhere now, the cargo, the trailer, the desert air itself. This is what happens to drivers who learn too much. We're broken down, reassembled, turned into cargo that screams warnings to the next driver. Why? I managed to choke out. Why do this? Efficiency. A driver who transports a screaming load once will never take another irregular job again. They'll stay in line, ask no questions, deliver what they're told, and if they don't, If they talk, if they report, if they try to expose the system, they become part of the load themselves. I won't tell anyone, I said. I swear. I'll deliver this, and I'll never speak about it again. That's what they all say. Something grabbed my ankle. I looked down. A hand, a perfectly formed human hand, was emerging from the flesh mass inside the trailer. It had grown from the cargo like a plant sprouting from soil, and it was gripping my leg with impossible strength. No! I kicked hard, felt bones snap in the hand, but it didn't let go. Another hand emerged, then another. A dozen hands reaching out from the cargo, grabbing my legs, my arms, my shirt. They were pulling me in. "Join us," the voices said. "Join the load. Become furniture. Become cargo. Scream your warnings to the next driver." I fought. God, I fought like an animal. Clawed at the pavement, tore my fingernails off, trying to grip the asphalt. But the hands were too strong, too many. They dragged me into the trailer. Into the mass of breathing flesh. The last thing I remember clearly is the feeling of my body being pressed into the meat. Feeling it close around me like mud, warm and wet and suffocating. Feeling my form being molded, reshaped, integrated into the cargo. Feeling my mouth stretching open in a scream that would never stop. But here's the thing, I'm still driving. My body is in the trailer, yes. Stretched across a section that looks like a filing cabinet. My face screaming silently, my consciousness trapped in meat. But I'm also still in the cab, still sitting behind the wheel, still driving toward Facility 12. Because the woman in the driver's seat isn't me. Not anymore. It's a replacement, a perfect copy. She has my memories, my license, my voice. But she's not me. I'm cargo now. And I'm screaming. Screaming warnings to the new me. Screaming about what's really in the trailer, screaming about what they'll do to her when she delivers the load and learns too much. She can hear me. I know she can. I can see her flinching at the sounds, see her gripping the wheel tighter. Soon she'll open the door, soon she'll see what she's hauling, and soon she'll join us. Another Keisha. Another face stretched across the flesh furniture, another voice in the chorus of warnings that nobody can heed because it's already too late. The system feeds itself. Drivers become cargo. Cargo becomes warnings. Warnings create new drivers who become new cargo, efficient, perfect, endless. We're approaching Facility 12 now. I can feel it. The flesh mass knows. It's starting to pulse faster, breathing with anticipation. They'll unload us. The new Keisha will drive away with an empty trailer and a head full of carefully edited memories. She won't remember opening the door. Won't remember seeing the cargo. Won't remember anything but a successful delivery. Until the next irregular load, the next sealed trailer, the next job that pays too well and asks too few questions. Then the cycle begins again. And I'll still be here. Still screaming. Still trying to warn the next driver even though I know they won't listen. Can't listen. Because once you accept the load, you're already part of it. Once you hear the screaming, you're already scheduled to become it. The office furniture in your office, in your home, in your workplace. Have you ever heard it scream? Have you ever pressed your ear against a filing cabinet late at night and heard dozens of voices begging to be released? No? Not yet, but you will. We all do eventually. We all become cargo. We all scream forever, and nobody hears us. Nobody helps us. Nobody stops the deliveries. Story 7, the wrong exit. I took exit 247 off I-90 in Montana 7 hours ago, and I still haven't reached the road at the bottom of the ramp. My name is Lucas Green. I'm 29 years old, and I don't think I'm in Montana anymore. I don't think I'm anywhere that exists on a map. Let me start from the beginning. Maybe if I write this down, maybe if I document what's happening, someone will find it, understand it, warn others. November 17th, 9:40 p.m. I was hauling a load of frozen goods from Seattle to Chicago. Standard cross-country haul, route I'd driven a dozen times. I-90 across Montana is brutal this time of year. Early winter storms, black ice, hours of nothing but darkness and snow. I needed fuel, needed coffee, needed to take a piss. GPS showed a truck stop at exit 247, 13 miles ahead. I'd stopped there before, good place. Clean showers, decent food, friendly staff. Exit 247 came up, I signaled, moved into the right lane, took the exit. That's when everything went wrong. The exit ramp was too long, way too long. Normally an exit ramp is maybe a quarter mile. This one kept going, curving right, descending but never reaching the ground. I checked my odometer. I'd gone 2 miles down the ramp, still descending, still curving right. What the hell? I eased off the accelerator, slowing down. Maybe I'd taken the wrong exit. Maybe this was some kind of service road, but the sign said 247. Same exit I'd taken before. I'd descended for 4 miles now. The curve was tightening. I was basically driving in a spiral around and around, going down like a corkscrew. And it was getting darker, not just night dark, dark in a way that seemed to absorb my headlights. The beams extended maybe 10 feet in front of my truck before being swallowed by absolute blackness. 5 miles, 6 miles, still descending. My radio was nothing but static. Cell phone had no signal. GPS showed me in the middle of the Montana wilderness, but the map wasn't updating. The blue dot that represented my truck was frozen at exit 247. 7 miles down the ramp, I started seeing the signs. Not road signs, messages, spray-painted on the guardrails in dripping red letters. Turn around, wrong way, go back. I wanted to turn around. God, I wanted to, but the ramp was too narrow, no shoulder, no turnouts. Just a single lane spiraling down into darkness. If I tried to turn around, I'd jackknife, flip the trailer, kill myself. So I kept going, kept descending, because going forward was the only option. At mile 8, I passed a truck. It was parked on the right side of the ramp, or crashed, hard to tell. A freight liner hauling a refrigerated trailer just like mine. The cab was empty, driver's door hanging open, no signs of the driver anywhere. I slowed as I passed it, saw something that made my stomach clench. The license plate, Washington State, my company, and the trailer number. RF7431, that was my trailer number, the exact trailer I was pulling. I checked my mirror, looked at my own trailer, RF7431, same number, 2 identical trailers, both mine. I sped up, didn't want to think about what that meant, didn't want to process the implications. At mile 10, I passed another truck, same make, same model, same trailer number. This one's driver was still inside, slumped over the wheel, not moving. I could see him in my headlights as I passed. He was wearing the same jacket I was wearing, same company cap, same face. He was me. Dead, behind the wheel of an identical truck with an identical trailer. I was screaming, couldn't help it. Just screaming and screaming while my hands white-knuckled the wheel and my truck kept descending that impossible ramp. More trucks now. Every 100 yards, another identical rig. Some parked, some crashed, some just sitting in the lane, forcing me to swerve around them. All of them with versions of me inside. Some dead, some sitting upright, staring at nothing, some turned to watch me pass with hollow eyes. At mile 14, the ramp finally straightened out, stopped curving. Just a straight descent now into absolute darkness, and I saw the light at the bottom. Not daylight, not artificial light, something else. A glow that was all the wrong colors, purples and greens that hurt to look at, that made my eyes water and my head ache. The light was coming from a building, a truck stop. Same truck stop I'd been aiming for, same layout, same signs, same fuel pumps. But wrong, all wrong. The building was too tall. The roof extended up into darkness beyond what I could see. The fuel pumps were moving, writhing like living things, and the parking lot, Jesus Christ, the parking lot. Thousands of trucks, tens of thousands, all identical. All my truck. Parked in perfect rows that extended past the horizon. And standing next to each truck was a version of me. All of them. All me. Standing beside their rigs, staring at the new arrival. At me. Their faces blank. Their eyes reflecting that wrong-colored light. I hit the brakes. Didn't matter. The truck kept moving forward, pulling into the parking lot whether I wanted it to or not. My foot was on the brake pedal, standing on it, but we were still rolling. The truck found an empty spot. There was exactly one waiting for me, backed in perfectly despite my hands not being on the wheel. The engine shut off. I sat there, breathing hard, looking at all the versions of myself surrounding my truck. They hadn't moved. Just standing, watching, waiting. My door opened. I didn't open it. It just swung open on its own. One of the me's stepped forward, gestured for me to get out. "No," I said. "No, I'm not getting out. I'm starting this truck and I'm driving back up that ramp and—" "You can't go back," the me said. His voice was my voice, but flatter, emotionless. "The ramp only goes down. Then I'll stay in my truck. You'll get out eventually, they all do. Hunger, thirst, need to piss. Something will force you out. Better to come willingly." "What is this place?" The me smiled. Wrong smile, too wide. "This is exit 247, the real exit 247. The one underneath the one you think you know." That doesn't make sense. Every exit has a shadow. A place underneath where the wrong versions go, where the mistakes accumulate. He gestured at all the other trucks, all the other me's. We're the might-have-beens, the could-have-beens. Every choice you didn't make, every route you didn't take, every version of you that could have existed. We're all here. "I don't believe you." "Then explain this." He pointed at the truck next to mine. The me standing next to it had a scar across his face. "That's the you that got in a bar fight in Spokane. He has a criminal record now, can't get hired by major companies." He pointed to another. "That's the you that married his high school sweetheart. He drives local, never left Oregon." Another. "That's the you that died in a car crash when he was 17. He never became a trucker at all." I looked at all the me's. Hundreds of them visible, thousands stretching into the darkness. All different ages, different conditions, different lives. "But I'm the real me," I said. "I made my choices, I'm living my life." "Are you?" The me tilted his head. "Or are you just another might-have-been? Another possibility waiting to find out he's not the prime version?" "I don't understand." "There's only one real Lucas Green. One prime version, the one who exists in the real world, making the real choices. All the rest of us, all the alternate versions, the possibilities, the shadows, we end up here, in the underneath, where we can't interfere with the prime's life." My hands were shaking. "How do I know if I'm prime?" "You don't. Not until you try to leave." He pointed back at the ramp. "If you're prime, you can drive back up. The ramp will let you. You'll wake up at the top, remember this as a bad dream, and continue your life. And if I'm not, then you stay here, with us, forever, watching the prime version live the life that could have been yours." I looked at all the me's. Some looked sad, some looked angry, some looked accepting, like they'd made peace with being shadows. "I'm getting back in my truck," I said. "I'm driving back up. You can try," the me said. I climbed back into the cab, started the engine. It turned over perfectly. All systems normal, fuel still showing half tank. I put it in gear and headed for the exit, following the signs that said ramp to I-90. The ramp was there, same spiral, same darkness, but now I was going up instead of down. I drove for an hour. The odometer said I'd climbed 37 miles, but I wasn't getting any closer to the top. The darkness remained absolute. The curve remained constant, and behind me in my mirrors I could see them. All the me's, walking up the ramp, following my truck. Thousands of them now, all walking in perfect lockstep, all staring at me with those blank eyes. I drove faster, 70 miles per hour on that tight spiral, way too fast, trailer swaying dangerously. But I couldn't let them catch me, couldn't let the shadow versions pull me back. At mile 50, I started seeing the signs again. You're not prime. Give up. You're one of us. No, I said through gritted teeth. No, I'm real. I'm Lucas Green, I'm 29, I'm prime, I'm real. At mile 60, I passed myself coming down. Another me, in another identical truck, eyes wide with terror. Taking exit 247 for the first time, descending into the underneath. He didn't see me. We were on different layers somehow. Different spirals of the same ramp. How many of me were on this ramp? How many were descending while I was ascending? How many were trapped in this loop, going up and down forever? At mile 70, my truck ran out of fuel, the engine sputtered, died. I coasted for another 30 seconds before coming to a complete stop. The Mez were still behind me, still walking, getting closer. I got out of the truck, started running up the ramp on foot, had to reach the top, had to prove I was prime, but the ramp never ended. I ran for what felt like hours, my lungs burning, legs screaming, but the darkness never thinned. The curve never straightened, and the me's were catching up. I can hear them now, thousands of voices, all mine, all speaking in unison. Give up. Come back. Accept what you are. I'm sitting on the ramp, writing this on my phone. Battery at 4%, no signal. But maybe when I die, if I die, maybe someone will find my phone, find this document. Maybe the prime version of me will see this and understand. Don't take exit 247. Don't ever take exit 247. Because underneath the real exit is the shadow exit. And if you're not prime, if you're just one more possibility, one more might have been, you'll never leave. The M's are here, now, surrounding me. All of them reaching down with identical hands. It's time to go back, they say. Back to the parking lot, back to your truck, back to waiting. I'm prime, I whisper. I have to be prime. They smile, all of them, that wrong, too wide smile. That's what we all thought. They're pulling me to my feet, leading me back down the ramp, back to the truck stop with the wrong-colored lights. Back to my parking spot among the thousands of identical trucks. Back to stand beside my rig and wait for the next version of me to arrive. The next me who'll think he's prime, who'll try to escape, who'll fail. Because none of us are prime. The real Lucas Green is up there somewhere in the real world, driving the real I-90, stopping at the real exit 247. We're just the shadows. The possibilities, the versions that never got to be real, and we wait here forever. In the underneath, where wrong exits lead. Story 8. The road that eats time. I've been driving for 6 hours, but my clock says I left the truck stop 3 minutes ago, and I can see myself in the distance ahead just starting this same drive. My name is Maria Santos. I'm 44 years old. I've been trucking for 16 years. And I'm trapped in a time loop on Highway 50 somewhere between Ely and Delta, Utah. November 19th, 0600. I left the Ely truck stop with a full load of machine parts headed for Denver, simple run. 8 hours, give or take. I'd driven it dozens of times. Highway 50 through Utah is called the loneliest road in America. 51 miles of nothing between Ely and Delta. No towns, no services, no cell signal, just straight empty highway through salt flats and desert. You and the road and your thoughts. I'd been driving for what felt like 45 minutes when I noticed something odd. The mile markers were repeating. I passed marker 72, then 71, then 72 again. I checked my odometer. It showed I'd driven 18 miles from the truck stop, but the markers said I'd only gone 2 miles. GPS error, I muttered, recalculated, but the GPS insisted I was right where the mile markers said I was. Then I saw the truck, ahead of me maybe half a mile, another big rig hauling a flatbed. He was doing about 70, same speed as me. I started gaining on him slowly. As I got closer, I noticed the load, machine parts, same exact load I was hauling, strapped down the same way, same configuration. And the truck, same make, same model, same company colors. I pulled up alongside the cab to get a look at the driver. She was me. Same face, same hair and a ponytail, same company jacket. She was even drinking coffee from the same travel mug I had in my cup holder. She didn't look at me, just stared straight ahead, driving. I sped up, pulled ahead of her, looked in my mirror. She was still back there, maintaining distance. What the fuck was happening? I drove for another hour. Felt like an hour, my body told me it was an hour. But when I checked my dashboard clock, only 4 minutes had passed since I left the truck stop. And the mile markers were still repeating. 72. 71, 72, over and over. That's when I realized I wasn't moving forward. I was driving, burning fuel, covering distance. But I wasn't making progress. The highway was looping, feeding itself back into itself. I grabbed my CB radio. Breaker 19, this is southbound Maria. Anybody copy? A voice responded immediately. My voice. This is southbound Maria, I copy. Who is this? This is Maria Santos. Who are you? I'm Maria Santos. That's impossible. I'm Maria Santos. I looked in my mirror. The truck behind me was flashing her lights. The me behind me was trying to signal. How long have you been on Highway 50? I asked. 6 hours, give or take, but my clock says 3 minutes. Same, exactly same. I think we're in a loop, she said. I said, I've been seeing versions of us, dozens, all driving the same direction, all hauling the same load, all experiencing the same time distortion. How do we get out? I don't know. I've tried exiting. There are no exits. Tried turning around. The road won't let me. It's like static. The radio cut out. I looked ahead. The me I'd been talking to was gone. Her truck just vanished. Blinked out of existence between 1 second and the next, but in the far distance I could see another truck, another me, starting the same drive. I've been driving for 6 hours now, real time. My body feels every minute of it. I'm exhausted, hungry, need to use the bathroom. But my clock still says 0603, 3 minutes since I left the truck stop, and I keep passing myself, dozens of versions, some ahead of me, some behind. All trapped in the same loop, all driving the same stretch of highway that never ends. Some of the me's have been here longer, I can tell. Their trucks are running rough. They look exhausted, haggard. One of them, Jesus, she looked like she'd aged 10 years. Skin gray, eyes sunken. She was slumped over the wheel, barely conscious, but her truck was still driving. I tried to stop. Pulled onto the shoulder, set the brakes, shut off the engine, but the scenery kept moving, the mile markers kept passing. 72, 71, 72, I was stopped. Engine off, brakes engaged, but I was still traveling. The road was moving under me, carrying me forward whether I drove or not. I started the engine again. If I was going to be trapped here, at least I could control my position. That's when I saw it. Off to the left, out in the salt flats. A building, not a rest stop, not a gas station, just a building. Low, concrete, brutalist architecture, no windows, no signs. Just a flat structure sitting alone in the desert. And trucks, hundreds of trucks, parked in neat rows around the building, all identical to mine. I steered toward it, tried to leave the highway, crossed the desert toward the building. The road wouldn't let me. My steering wheel locked, forcing me to stay on the highway. Stay in the loop, but I kept watching the building as I passed, and I saw them, the drivers, hundreds of women who looked exactly like me, all standing in formation outside the building, all staring at the highway. watching us drive past, watching the loop continue. And I realized those were the ones who'd given up, who'd stopped trying to escape, who'd somehow gotten out of their trucks and now just waited, watched, existed. Was that better than driving forever, being static instead of moving? I don't know, but I'm not ready to give up yet. I've been experimenting, trying to find a way out. Here's what I've learned. The loop is exactly 51 miles. The time distortion means what feels like an hour is actually about 30 seconds of real time. I've driven approximately 300 miles, but only 18 real minutes have passed. At this rate, I'll run out of fuel in about 4 real hours. What will happen then? Will I join the women at the building? Will I just stop, frozen on the highway forever? I've tried communicating with other versions of myself. Most don't respond. Some do briefly before vanishing. One of them told me she'd been here for 6 months, real time, years in loop time. She'd tried everything. Nothing worked. Another one said the highway is alive, said it feeds on time, on motion, on the kinetic energy of vehicles. Said we're all just fuel for something vast and hungry. I don't know if I believe that. But I don't have a better explanation. My fuel gauge is dropping. I'm down to a quarter tank. Maybe 3 hours left, and I can see myself ahead, a future version. Her truck is sputtering, running on fumes. She's drifting, barely keeping it in the lane. Is that my future? Running out of fuel, coasting to a stop, becoming one of the static women watching the highway? Or is there another option? I've started noticing something. The mile marker 72, when it appears, there's a fractional instant where the number flickers. Shows a different number, 47. Just for a frame, just for a blink, but it's there. 47, that's miles behind me. Miles before the loop. What if the loop isn't perfect? What if there's a seam? A moment where the road connects back to itself? And in that instant, you could slip through. I'm going to try. When marker 72 flickers to 47, I'm going to floor it. See if I can push through the seam, break out of the loop. It's probably stupid, probably won't work. But what else can I do? Here it comes. Marker 72. Flickering. Showing 47. I'm flooring it. 90 miles per hour, 95. The trailer is swaying dangerously, but I don't care. The marker is flickering faster. 72, 47, 72, 47. I'm hitting it at 98 miles per hour. Everything went white. I'm writing this from a hospital in Delta, Utah. I crashed. Don't remember how. Don't remember anything between hitting that marker and waking up here. The state trooper said they found me unconscious in my truck on the shoulder of Highway 50, mile marker 48. No sign of an accident. Truck was intact. I was just unconscious, like I'd fallen asleep at the wheel. They found my phone with this document open, said I'd been typing while driving, which explained why I'd crashed. But I didn't crash. I escaped. I broke through the loop, didn't I? I asked the trooper, how long was I on Highway 50? He checked his report. Your GPS log shows you entered the highway at 0602 and we found you at 0621. 19 minutes. 19 minutes, but I'd been driving for over 6 hours. Lived through days in that loop. The doctors say I'm fine. Mild concussion, dehydration. They're keeping me overnight for observation, then I'm free to go. But here's what scares me. When I close my eyes, I can still see it. The loop. The highway, the endless mile markers, the versions of myself driving forever. And I can still feel it. The road moving under me, the time slipping sideways, the loop pulling me back. The doctor just came in, said my company sent a replacement driver to take my truck and complete the delivery. I asked who. He said Maria Santos. That's my name, I said. She showed all the right credentials, said you were her twin sister. I don't have a twin sister. I just looked out my hospital window. Down in the parking lot, I can see her, can see myself, loading into my truck, getting ready to drive to Denver, getting ready to take Highway 50. She's me. A version of me that made it out of the loop differently. Or maybe never entered it. Or maybe is about to enter it for the first time. I want to run down there, warn her, tell her to take I-80 instead. Avoid Highway 50, avoid the loop. But something tells me it won't matter. The loop exists outside time, outside choice. If you're meant to enter it, you enter it. If you escape, another version takes your place. An infinite loop of Maria Santoses, all driving that lonely highway, all trapped in time distortion, all trying to escape while new versions constantly enter. And I'm supposed to be free now, supposed to have escaped. But I can still feel it, the pull, the highway calling me back. They're discharging me tomorrow, giving me my truck back, telling me I can resume my route. But I don't think I can drive anymore, don't think I can get behind the wheel without feeling that time slip, without seeing those mile markers repeat, without becoming trapped again. Or maybe I'm still trapped. Maybe I never escaped. Maybe this hospital, this doctor, this moment, maybe it's all part of the loop. Another layer, another section of Highway 50 that never ends. How would I know? How does anyone know if they've escaped a time loop or just moved to a different part of it? I can see my reflection in the dark hospital window, see myself staring back. But behind my reflection I can see it, the highway, stretching into infinity. Mile marker 72, then 71, then 72 again, always repeating, always looping, always calling me back. The loneliest road in America, and I drove it forever, and I'm still driving it, and I'll never stop.